Welcome to Wise Beyond Bitcoin, where you come for education, analysis, and opportunities in blockchain and crypto. My name is Lucas.
And my name is Ryan.
And Ryan has found some awesome analysis and opportunities and education all wrapped into one. So if you like this kind of content and you want to stay on the cutting edge of what's happening in blockchain and crypto, hit that like button. What is else? You hit the little notification bell and all that good stuff to be alerted when we drop the latest content, because we're doing how-tos in DeFi, and we're really trying to stay on top of the latest and the greatest. That being said, this is not financial advice. This is just educational information for entertainment, edutainment. We're just kind of figuring this, fumbling our way through this.
Yeah, we're learning together.
And there's way too much going on that you or I can figure out on our own. So we both rely upon all of our friends, all the beautiful people out there in this growing community that are sharing and caring, and sharing is caring. So we're giving back here. And without hesitating on this any further, what's the big topic of this is,
well, we're talking about Wonderland and time, right?
But you've really gone into the theory, the foundation of where they come from, the value that they bring to the ecosystem, because we're going to walk people through the different blockchains they can go to take part of this strategy in DeFi, and what it means, what it is compared to the competition, right? Like you think about Tether has always been a stable coin risk since 2017. Since it's been around, there's been talk of the Tether risk, USDC, and now with all the regulation happening, we constantly hear of this risk of stable coins. And because of that, there's been a response. Luna Terra, obviously, we'll get back to that later, one of our favorite protocols out there. But another response has been through these smart contract protocols. All right, so there's my setup.
Yes. Right. Well, yeah, let's talk about Wonderland. This is time. Wonderland, time is the token. Wonderland is the protocol. You see the nice little graphic, and we're going to enter the app and see what's going on here. This is on the Avalanche network. The best way to pick up this token, if you're interested, is to buy a Avalanche, whether you get that on a centralized exchange, or whether or not you go to stealthx.io and swap for it, or whether or not you have another preferred method. Find yourself some Avalanche, and then you can go to Trader Joe or another DEX on Avalanche, but we like Trader Joe, and you can easily swap your Avalanche for time, and that's the token you're looking for. Once you have time in your wallet, you can come over here and stake your time, and you can immediately see there's some off the chart APY percentages that don't seem to be, it seems to be kind of hard to understand what's coming on, what's happening here. How's that possible? And one of the things we're highlighting here is there's a rebasing function, and every 8 hours there's a rebase, and that happens 3 times a day. And what that is there's a reward. Your staking interest or your reward for your staking amount is credited to your stake. So your entire position is updated to include whatever interest you earn in that day, or in that 8 hour period, because it's a 3 times a day thing. So, and you can see here the next reward on this wallet, it's going to be 0.006427. That'll be added to the staked balance. And so your principal grows 3 times a day. And so the following reward will just be that much bigger, because it'll be a ratio of or a function or a fraction of a larger principal. And you can see over 5 days, there's about a 9.6% return. So that's how. And if you compound that, you're auto compounding it. You that 9.6 over 5 days auto compounded yearly adds up to, through the magic of compound interest, 81,000%, which, yeah, that is as crazy as it sounds. But one thing to know about, and you might be thinking, okay, well, this has to be a scam. There's got to be something I'm missing here. And, and this is risky. This is some of the most innovative and cutting edge stuff going on in DeFi. But one thing that should give you a little bit of faith or confidence that this isn't, a completely stupid play, is that the tokenomics and the incentives and the game theory that this is resting on is pretty well thought out, and has worked on the Ethereum network in the form of Olympus DAO. But before we get into that, let's talk about this treasury balance that we're looking at here. So it just recently crossed over $500 million. If you follow the head or the founder of this protocol, Daniel Sesta, on Twitter, you'll see that he recently remarked about how awesome that was, that they crossed that threshold. And so what's making up the treasury? Well, at the very top, you see time and MIM liquidity tokens, LP tokens, and that you can get those at Trader Joe. And that's the MIM. We've talked about MIM in our previous video. That's the stable coin that's connected, that's part of the Abracadabra protocol. So Abracadabra has MIM as its stable coin, and MIM is completely separate from any kind of dollar reserves. It's all backed by crypto DeFi assets. So there's not a UST, there's not a Tether or USDC layer here, right? This is something that's completely self-contained and separate from being pegged or backed by central bank currencies of any kind. And I bring that up because that is sort of speaks to one of the main goals of these projects, of these, whether it's Olympus DAO or Wonderland, and we're going to get into the other versions and forks later, but they all share a similar framework, and they share a similar goal, which is to create a DeFi stablecoin protocol with a monetary policy that's completely separated and completely disconnected from what central banks are doing. So imagine a stablecoin that is not tied to any kind of central bank asset, like a dollar or a pound or any other euro. And so and what are the reasons why would that be desirable? Well, there's various things, whether we're talking about regulatory risks of changing the way the rules could be changed for the way they would impact anything that connected to dollars, and things that aren't connected to dollars would obviously wouldn't be able to, wouldn't be exposed to the same regulatory risks. So there's avoiding regulatory risks is a big part of it. Another part of it is avoiding the inflation that's inherent in monetary policy, and central bank monetary policy. And so when you're pegged to a dollar or a euro, then whatever happens to that underlying asset the effect is going to be channeled one-to-one to the stable coin. So whether that's, DAI or whatever, right? So however, if you're exposed to the dollar, then the changes that flow through the dollar will flow through your currency too. And so what this is about is finding ways to create systems of money with a monetary policy and a governance system that aren't linked to or connected to the old traditional system of central banking and fiat money.
And, as you know, all fiat currencies eventually go to zero. You have examples in banana republics of people having their value of their property, their assets just being inflated and taxed away through the hidden tax of inflation. And
Yes.
So this is kind of really what you're talking about is an evolution of monetary economics and an evolution of monetary theory. We're looking at using technology to help the institution of money become something that is more stable in general worldwide, which is beautiful, instead of it being fragile based upon this elected group just coming into power at this point in time in this nation over here having the ability to print a bunch, and this country over here having this. So it's creating this open, transparent, and collateral
Bottom up, something that's bottom up too.
I'll say another thing that's really beautiful that you showed about this. When people look at those APYs and those returns, like that doesn't make sense. Well, don't forget that the foundation, what's beautiful about these protocols,
this design
is that, look, LP, two of these out of the four are actually LPs, which are interest. They grow, they earn fees. So they're actually earning a return. In order to issue this token, you have to lock up something that actually itself
that has a flow of income.
Two things. And actually you could even argue that wrapped AVAX itself is another digital asset, and MIM it alone is actually, we've done a video on that. If you look at our Avalanche, we go through the Avalanche ecosystem and what's going on with Abracadabra there. But don't forget that in order to mint MIM, you have to lock up LPs from Curve
interest-bearing assets.
Interest-bearing. So this represents interest-bearing assets, and this represents, interest-bearing, and this represents interest-bearing, and this represents.
And then AVAX is not interest-bearing, but it's definitely appreciating. Right. Now, I would recommend anybody, like we say earlier, it's not financial advice, and there's clearly a doc link right here, so you can go and read the white paper and get more into how this works. How does it all work? There's a way that MIM is used to buy time when it falls below, and MIM is used to sell against time when it goes too high. So there's a certain mechanism that regulates the production of time, and that system is where these crazy APYs come from, because of the profits made by the treasury. There's a massive amount of new MIM coming into the treasury, and for every MIM that they get, they're able to create more time. So there's this nice, very well thought out game theory that seems to be working. And even if you take a look at Olympus, before we do that, we're on AVAX, we're on Avalanche.
Oh yeah.
So let's mention that there's another protocol that's launching recently, or has launched relatively recently, called Snowbank, that's also on Avalanche and has a very similar layout with a similar set of incentives and the same 9-9 strategy, which you'll see referenced throughout these forks. And so it's just another one. It's a little earlier, and it looks to be promising on Avalanche.
But it is a fork, and a lot of these are copy paste.
Yes.
Even has been researched, the graphics comes off of a Robinhood education site, and last we checked, the docs are still
have mistakes. Yeah.
So
we kind of bring this up to say not all of these forks are created equal. The founder of Time is Daniel Sesta. He's worth following on Twitter. He's not connected to Snowbank. No. So, who's behind these protocols is somewhat of a mystery, because these are not, some of this is anonymous, but you do know Daniel Sesta, he's public, he's a public figure, and he is behind Wonderland, but many of these do have an anonymous team behind them. So that is something to consider. This is not the same as buying into a project where you can clearly see the entire team and know who they are and run, see what they've been involved with and do your due diligence. So with protocols like Snowbank, it looks the same. It has the same sounds, uses the same terminology, same problem, very similar code, I'm sure. But, I would think that the risks on this one might be a little higher than with a Wonderland product. But now to go to the other end of the spectrum and talk about one that's more proven than any of these, one that's actually weathered a crypto market, somewhat of a downturn, I wouldn't say like a recession, because we haven't had that yet, but there's definitely been a correction in the space, and Ohm maintained a pretty good price level. It came down somewhat, but it didn't just get wiped out. It didn't dump, and it still has very high APY, over 8,000%. And you can see the TVL, total value locked, is over $2 billion. Is that right? Yeah. Or is that $2 billion? So right. The treasury is a little lower than on Wonderland, which shows you how fast Wonderland has grown and stolen the thunder of Olympus. And I would say that's probably because of the cheaper fees and transaction costs on the Avalanche network, because Olympus is on Ethereum. So getting in and getting out, it's going to cost the gas. There's going to be gas fees. And if you know anything about Ethereum gas fees, you know that they can be high and unpredictable. So having the same kind of an option on Avalanche, yeah, it's definitely attractive.
So the treasury balance for Ohm is 498 million, and the treasury balance on Wonderland is 519 million plus. And
Right.
as you said, it really comes down to, we're going to talk about not just Avalanche, but other of the leading cutting edge smart contract protocols in cryptocurrency, in blockchain, and that also are known for their scalability and lower transaction costs. And they too are taking these strategies and implementing. So just as you see that how quickly growth can happen on Avalanche, this is the potential that can happen on a lot of these other younger networks. It also goes to show the latent value of these younger protocols. I know that many people, Bitcoin and Ethereum, still receive a lot of the lion's share of attention and news and thunder when it comes, but a lot of these other protocols, Solana, Harmony One, Avalanche, Polkadot, Kusama, Luna Terra, the Cosmos ecosystem, don't get me going, but we will. We're going to get going. That network. So yeah,
well, let's not forget about Polygon. That's the next one on our list.
Well, then let's get to Polygon. And
yeah, Klim DAO. So what's going on here? This is a carbon sink, or an incentive protocol to price carbon and people who and the services and the ability to capture it at a higher rate, and to create a reward system for capturing carbon, such that we can kind of incentivize the right actions to solve climate change, and through a ground up kind of way, versus some kind of planned tax and control, cap and trade, or carbon credits ran through the government or anything like that. Which, as you know how politics can be, it's rare that it's going to achieve the goals of the masses, and more often than not, it's some kind of well-heeled elite that get the benefits, right? So that's the whole point of crypto, is to turn big public goods like money and whatever over to the people and get it out of the hands of the elite. And if you're worried about climate change and pollution, which I think it's not a crazy thing to be concerned about, and as time goes on, it'll probably be even more of a concern, then these are the sort of protocols that you're going to want to look at if you're not a fan of putting the industries and the richest people in the world in control of the economy for various reasons. That might not be a good idea. And so, yeah, so the next step would be to say, well, what can we do? What kind of protocols, what kind of organizations can we create on our own, which kind of incentivize the kind of behavior we want, or whether that's to not produce as much carbon, or to actually collect it and to store it and to offset and to actually sequester it, and then to get paid for doing so, right? We want to encourage that kind of activity, and this protocol seems to be looking to do that through a carbon credits and staking sort of a process. You'd be issued Klima based on the provable carbon you've been able to sequester, and then that Klima can be staked, and then the same kinds of incentives and the same game theory we talked about with Ohm and with time then are underway here. And this is another, needs to be said, do your research. This is not a Daniel Sesta project that I'm aware of, and it's risky, but it's a fork of Ohm. It has those same incentives and game theory design. So if that's something you find attractive, and if you also are into climate issues, and if you think that carbon credits and sequestering carbon is going to be a valuable industry in the future, this might be a good way to get an early play on that. So there's many ways to think of this, and this is also just an option to buy Klima and stake it and earn. I'm not sure what the rewards are right now.
If you're into that carbon credits trading kind of a thing, then this is where it's at. I mean, carbon credits, Kyoto Protocol, this movement for in different places around the world have has been happening for quite some time. And if you're into that, which a lot of people are into that, this adds value to being more green, as they say, right? Because they're taking that right to pollute carbon. I should call it pollute. Their right to emit carbon. And they're saying, well, instead of someone using and exercising that right to blow carbon out around the place, we're going to lock it up and take it off the market, so that's less carbon emissions. And I can see protocols like that being subsidized or rewarded by institutions that would like to promote that kind of behavior. You could see easily that could be, and Polygon is,
and that's what I was going to say. That's where I want to go. This is on Polygon, which a very cool layer 2 project, helps Ethereum scale, very cheap gas fees, quick transactions, and lots of development on Polygon. That's the other thing. If you go check out if you look at that ecosystem, there's so many protocols and projects.
They can look forward to a video. Ryan will help head this
where to do that
on Polygon. Yeah, we'll get that one going soon. But yeah, we've done Harmony, Phantom, Avalanche, and now let's go. And now people are getting a multi-chain kind of insight on how this Olympus DAO is rippling out into different ecosystems. So Polygon, that's beautiful. See what's going on there. We know obviously Olympus is
on ETH.
Wonderland is Avalanche.
Rome. Now let's move on to Rome. Now they don't have a website yet, so you have to check their Medium articles to kind of follow the development and when how to get whitelisted and when the launch will be and everything. But Rome is going to be on Kusama Polkadot, and it's going to be it's another fork of Olympus DAO. And to the extent that this is a risky thing or not, that remains to be seen. We're going to need to see the white paper and maybe find more about the team. But it's purported to be a similar project as the ones we've talked about already. And the fact that it's on Polkadot and Kusama is really what has my attention, because there's so much development happening on those chains, and I think they are going to be around for a while. And
well, look at the success of Kusama in the last year. I mean, Kusama's exploded, and that's because Kusama was the first to roll out the parachains as the canary test network. And we also have a video on what's going on with Kusama right now and Shiden and multi-chain swaps. But you're right, brother, because right now Polkadot is just now in there. They are now in their first official parachain auctions. So we saw the growth of Kusama. Now Polkadot is now doing its parachain auctions, and you're talking about this DAO rolling out for these networks. That's what I look for. I look for these successful or potentially really valuable added protocols, and I see where they are operating on these other blue chip blockchains, because you find there's a lot of interoperability and collaboration often between these, which is really neat. Okay, pardon me, but I got all excited about this. So you mentioned Polkadot and Kusama, and this is just another good find, brother.
Yep. Oh yeah, I've been thinking about this one as one I want to make a play on when it comes out. Pending research, of course. But and it looks to be a little different than a straightforward fork of Ohm or Wonderland. There's houses that have different. It's a DAO, and there's going to be different communities. They're calling them houses, and I guess you will be able to stake and with the validator or the house of your choice, and kind of in that sense vote to which community vision you want to see put into play. So yeah, this seems to be a pretty cool, well thought out little project, not just a straightforward, simple fork of the code. And yeah, I feel good about it. I don't know a lot more about it than what I've said, but I'm curious about what happens here and learning more. And there's so Kusama Polkadot, very, very exciting. But we don't want to forget about Harmony One, because I think that Harmony One, we've talked about that as being a sleeper chain, right? That's going to be a massive player in the DeFi world going forward. I feel like they haven't had their moment yet in the sun, really. There's some development happening, but there's so much attention on Polygon and Polkadot and Avalanche and Solana that Harmony One feels like it's kind of left in the dust. But make no mistake, there is development happening, and there's even going to be a fork of Ohm coming to Harmony One, and they're going to call this one 8. And there's another Medium site you can follow if you want to kind of research this, but this is going to be essentially the Olympus DAO on Harmony. And I don't, from reading through this article on Medium, it seems to be a pretty similar example, similar design as what was going on with Wonderland and Ohm. I don't see a whole lot of differences. And the launch, so if you go down, the IDO, the public launch, is going to be on November 20. So we're still early. There's still time to get on this one. There's about a week. And yeah, if you notice, you'll see a lot of references to handshakes and 9-9 or 3-3 strategy. And that's essentially a reference to game theory. The idea that there's the 8 balls, and CO8, they do it with 8 balls. Wonderland has hats, and various protocols signal the same tokenomics and using various symbols, but they're all kind of getting to the same idea, which is that through this design, through this compounding interest treasury kind of protocol that Ohm developed, they really feel like they're moving the ball forward on a new form of money, a new kind of monetary policy, kind of in a new kind of game theory in DeFi. So you can read more in the white paper on Wonderland or Ohm about that part of it. But in case you're curious what those symbols refer to, it's a game theory concept about moving from bad lose outcomes to win outcomes.
Now, I want to jump in a quick aside and add to what you're saying. You and I have been geeking out on these kinds of topics when it comes to money and monetary theory and the evolution of money and where it came from. And so we saw how fiat came from an asset-backed commodity-based currency where you had gold, silver of that nature in warehouse and receipts, and those receipts are paper traded and held in custody, and they're pretty easily, you have the evolution of paper money. Now we see current fiat as having been so far severed and down the line, having no backing, and it's actually backed by debt. It's the opposite of collateral. It's the opposite of collateral, the current system. And so when we talk about how these protocols, they're changing the game theory, well, they're also changing the game theory of a monetary theory where we were talking about the LPs earlier of time and mem, or whether they do it for the protocol here on Harmony or another. We're talking about people using something that instead of it being debt backed, it's backed by
asset backed
of something that's actually earning. It's actually not just
and that's an innovation on gold, because gold was not an interest bearing asset until you loaned it and put it to work, right? But it just holding gold, you wouldn't earn an interest on it, Whereas in this case, you're seeing that the monetary unit itself has an internal time value interest function. That I would say that's a massive leap in evolution of money.
So for all of you economists out there at whatever university and whatever level, get ready to have fun making new models. Got some fun models to make. How is this going to change the monetary models? A lot of ways.
Well, it's good. It's something to think about. And let's move on to Solana. I'm excited about this next one, Babylon.
It's so new and innovative that you found, Ryan, that all we do is have an article on it at the moment.
Yeah. So you'll see that with Rome, with Babylon. We're really at the article stage right now. They haven't launched the site, but this is going to be on Solana. And I know if you're following us that you're aware of how successful Solana has been in terms of moving into the top projects on in market by market cap, and by basically being one of the real threats, kind of overtaking Cardano almost as like the Ethereum threat right now, right? Would you say the EVM smart contract chain that's kind of most likely to threaten its position in the near term? And so you would expect there to be some development on Solana as well as along these lines. And there is. And this project is called Babylon. And, we don't have a lot to say about this because we don't have a lot of knowledge about it, given the fact that we just have some Medium articles, but they're announcing it. And it's, we'll see. We'll keep you updated if we find a launch date. But yeah, this is just another of these 9933 Ohm forks. And, we'll see how it plays out. But being early is sometimes good, but if it's we'll see. You don't want to buy the initial pump. That's true. So these things tend to pump hard and then they kind of correct right after that initial launch. So it's even with Ohm that happened. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on this one. But this just goes to show you that this idea has merit because it's popping up everywhere. It's popping on every chain. Not every chain, but it's how you're seeing. Well, look at this. We have a list of the same protocol or similar protocol, and it's happening on Solana, Harmony, Polygon, Ethereum, Avalanche, Solana, and we'll talk about Luna Terra too.
Actually, that's our special gem, our little secret hidden. Well, it's a bonus. It's our bonus.
Yeah, if you made it this far, here's our gift.
Because these are all forks of the same protocol. And these are all smart contract platforms, EVMs and smart contract platforms. Now, Luna Terra is an IBC protocol. It's its own blockchain, and it built in has a peg called the UST, the US Terra, to the dollar. So that's very interesting.
But not backed. Pegged, but not backed or collateralized.
Not backed, right. It's actually backed by Luna, the UST.
And that's something we want to highlight. That's why Terra was such a big, our favorite stablecoin, because of the fact that as regulatory risks increase and we see the eye of Sauron turn to the stablecoin industry, which we see happening now, there will be new guidance, there will be new regulations, and they will impact anything at all with any link to any kind of collateral link to dollars.
Like USDC and USDT and all those that are
not those that are backed by things like Luna.
No, because these are just digital assets that are protocol that
yes.
And they've actually come out. I say there have been specific people who've come out working that have said that they support the decentralized cryptocurrencies in some respect, that it's the ones that are centralized, that are centralized, scammed,
or collateralized by dollars or something, right?
Right. So
that they have the issue with. Yeah.
So in some way, this is why it's fun to really do your research and find those protocols that are pure in that blockchain ethos, that cryptocurrency technology aspect of decentralization and decentralized autonomous organizations, independence. This is huge. I believe, we've already talked about Abracadabra and of course MIM, and now they're bringing in Terra, the UST. Yes. They're bringing in the UST.
Well, there's been a lot of development on Terra, on Luna Terra, and we've already listed all the different chains that have own forks. So this project Leserve is coming to Terra, but it's a little different in the sense that it's not a straightforward fork. The code couldn't be bridged right over to Terra. It's just the infrastructure is too different, and it goes into this in the article. So what they're having to do is take the spirit of the project, of the Ohm Wonderland concept, the economic, the tokenomics and the game theory and the design, but reimagine it for Terra, because it's not able to just be ported over the way some of these others have been. And that is very heartening to us, because if you have a team of developers such that you can actually recreate, that you can reimagine a concept on a new chain, and build it from the ground up. That shows that you're more committed, you have more money involved, you've got more resources, and you've got more skin in the game than somebody who just copy pasted the Ohm contract, right? So that's something we're encouraged by, and then not to mention the fact that we're fans of Lunaterra.
Huge fans, and huge. This is what's so beautiful about all these ecosystems is we're looking at the building blocks of a transition from one form of money as an institution to another. It's like seeing the evolution take place in front of your very eyes. And this is what blockchain and smart contracts, one of the many beautiful uses, right? Not just supply chain, NFTs, and so many other great things that you can do with blockchain and decentralized security. But to write these transparent protocols, contracts, smart contracts that operate, that are transparent, that benefit people equally, and that people can equally join and become a part
and they
of.
give people a pathway to governing the organization. We're so used to being plugged into the systems we have no say over and no control over, that just the order comes from on high and we follow, whether it's at politics, government, even in business, in our private lives and work. It's not like the CEO cares what you have to say about what policy should be. This is a new way of imagining organizing people together, the DAO. And if we are going to have monetary policy, it needs to be crowdsourced. And this decentralized autonomous organization of voting based on holders of the token, that's one way to crowdsource that idea, that concept, that those questions, and to get answers, and just to figure out what the community wants. That's really what we're talking about. Now go a little further. There's a section entitled The Cosmic Expedition. And I feel like this is the gem, that this is kind of like the cherry on top of this article. So not only are they're starting on this project, this Leserve DAO, they're starting on Terra, but they're going to be imagining, they're going to something bigger. They're going to be moving to the IBC, and they want to see themselves as being the reserve currency for the whole Cosmos chain. And well, that's huge. And if you're not aware of what Cosmos is, Atom and the IBC, the Inter Blockchain Communication Protocol, this might not have a lot of meaning to you, but this is a very awesome whole ecosystem being built in DeFi that is separate from the Ethereum ERC20 framework, but it's so quick, so cheap to send transactions. It's a smart contract platform, and there's so much innovation and
we've got
happening.
An example of providing liquidity, and our liquidity providing a video, and we use osmosis on the IBC network to show multiple times how fast it's all. We don't do it. I know it's hard to tell, but we don't edit. This just goes straight. I know because the crisp and the clean quality and everything in the light, but no, it goes straight out. And you get to see live action, how quick the IBC network and how cheap it works.
I want to focus on this one part of that second paragraph. It says leveraging IBC would inherently mitigate any need for future forks, as there will be a mature project instantly compatible with any Cosmos chain. Moreover, blah, blah, blah. This would effectively diversify our portfolio of assets and essentially make it resistant to market swings in each chain and currency. So what we're talking about is having multiple chains and multiple kinds of assets from different chains making up the treasury, which would make it more resilient to any kind of swings that happen to happen on any one chain. So this interchain, this interoperability would lead to greater resilience, and which reinforces the 3399 handshake philosophy. So yeah, I mean, this is exciting. And I can't wait to see this launch.
This is huge, brother, because when you talk about this, a form of money that should be stable, and taking advantage of all the growth and liquidity that's being locked up on all these different ecosystems. Because we talk about interoperability. This is huge because this is allowing, like it says, to further reinforce the Ohm philosophy. This is taking that, taking this system and all those who are applying it across chains and bridging it together to bring it, to make it more stable.
Right. Exactly.
So,
yep. So very exciting stuff. Well, you want to wrap it up on that awesome article that kind of explains it? Leserves with the Leservians. Yeah.
It's good to be a servant, and it's possible that the Servians, the Servians will be the ones kind of paving the way for taking this Olympus DAO and the forks and this new form of money built on transparency and built leveraging. It's not just leveraging IBC blockchain, but now they're talking about leveraging the value added by these different blockchains. Because now you're taking the ability to lock up LPs and lock up AVAX, lock up LPs and lock up Harmony, lock up LPs and lock up Polygon, lock up LPs and lock. So you're really taking the stability, the value of the different chains, and you're kind of creating like this FDIC, this natural organic insurance, this cross interoperability, this cross chain insurance, where they're kind of held together. Now it kind of brings them together so they're not so isolated, and that is a beautiful thing.
Indeed.
Well,
if some of this has been thoughtful and interesting, but you still have, big questions about how you get 80,000 APY, or how do you bond time or bond Ohm with LPs, or if you're curious about what the overall overarching point is about this whole project, or if you're even worried about understanding the mem time or whatever protocol we're talking about, the relationship between how the stable coin and the protocol token, how they regulate each other, then check out this article on Blockcast. We're going to link it below, but it really gets into it's talking about Ohm and Olympus DAO, but but it's true for most of these projects. It's certainly true for Wonderland. I can't speak about Snowbank or the ones that haven't launched yet, but it's true for Wonderland. And in reading this kind of gives you a much better understanding of what they're aiming for and kind of how the protocol works. And so check it out. We'll link it below. And I don't know, do we have anything else we want to add?
No, I think we covered this. You found some really good stuff, and I'm sure there are others out there. So if you know of some similar protocols on cutting edge blockchains or other developments, please throw it in the comments below. We appreciate your comments. And if we can wrap our heads around it and have time to put it out there, we will share it with others too. This is great research. Thank you, brother. I love going through this with you too, because it's a blast. It is a blast. And if you would like to have a blast with us, you know what to do. Until the next time, have a beautiful day and namaste.
Thank you.